Hey, Mark, do you want to be friends?
No.
What? Hey everybody, my name is Scott Vermillion and this is Mark Johnson, and we are talking to you about spiritual practices today. And so Dave is doing a new conversation on Sunday called The Day Love Died, and it's leading us up to Easter. And we thought that during this season of Lent that we wouldn't just take something away from our lives, but we'd also try to put something into our lives that would be helpful. And so today we're going to be talking about the spiritual practice of community. And so, Mark, tell me a little bit about your experience in community.
Well, I feel like a community god only because I'm extroverted.
Yeah.
And so for me, community just means more right. People, more parties, more activity, more connection.
Yeah.
And so I love to have people in my home. I love to have people at events. That's community for me. But I think one thing that's important as we look at community as a community is that we acknowledge that not everyone is wired with that extroverted personality. My wife, she responds well to my energy, but I think she's kind of like a closet introvert.
Yes.
And so oftentimes we'll have 30, 40 people in our home, but you'll find her seated with a more focused conversation in a smaller setting. And so I think it's important that as we look at community that you honor how God has uniquely wired you.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because we can judge other people very quickly when it comes to community. And that person doesn't like me because they're not hanging out with me. It could be just the fact that they're introverted and they've had their people time.
Yeah.
They need to pull away. And so that's really helpful in setting the tone for our conversation. So as you think about leading your community group and trying to enrich us with community, how do you see this as a spiritual practice, this practice of community?
Well, one of the things that's important to remember why it's a spiritual practice, we are designed to be loved and to love. And we can't feel or give love fully if we aren't known. Scott, if there's a secret that I'm holding that I believe if you knew, you wouldn't like me anymore, then any love that you show me until I know that you know that, I diminish, I dismiss. My soul can't receive because I know that you wouldn't like me if you knew that.
Yeah.
And so community is about being known. That's what that time's about.
Right. We so miss that.
Yeah.
I think we're always guarded when we come into relationships, and we're like, give me love, but I'm not going to give you any vulnerability. And I think what you're saying is the opposite is true. When we're vulnerable with each other, then we understand love. And that's just hard. It's just really hard. So what would you do? What would be some of your coaching to help us begin this journey, especially because we've all been burned, right? We've all been burned on this community thing.
So what I would say, Scott, is community is risky, but it doesn't need to be foolhardy. And the reason is because we all know those people that just for one reason or another, where they are in their journey, have difficulty maintaining confidentiality.
Right.
So those are the people that you trust with the more superficial conversations.
Right.
It's only those people that you trust with deeper intimacy that you share those more intimate moments with. I have a family member in my family that to build friendships, she begins to share all those things that if you were really good friends, you would know. But they're not things that should be shared that quickly to build the relationship. Right. So start at the shallow end, wade into the water. Don't plunge into the deep end. You might drown.
That's right. Good advice.
Yeah.
So what can we do this week that might help us begin to build this as a spiritual practice in our life?
So I have a couple thoughts. One is community, the kitchen conversations are always the best conversations. Yeah. So anytime you can have community in your home, do it. And it doesn't have to be masses, a friend or two, a couple or two, a family. But if you can invite them into your home, it just takes things to a deeper level.
Yeah.
And so that would be one thing I would suggest.
Yeah. And I love that because we all know that we have living rooms, but no one lives there. They live in the kitchen.
Yeah, they live
wherever the food is. That's where everybody's congregating.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Well, and I will oftentimes I'll begin in the kitchen, And then after the kids disperse, I'll conclude. Sometimes I need a little bit more comfort in my conversations.
Right, yeah.
So I need a sofa to hold on to.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So tell me what we can do around here. I mean, what does Riverbend offer that will help us begin the practice of building community with people?
I think Riverbend is a microcosm of the world around us. And so in that, Dave's time of teaching in the Home for Hope, that's the masses. Then we have our community groups, that's the 12. And then we have those smaller groups, the 3, Peter, James, and John he loved. It's okay to acknowledge that we have different degrees of relationship in different levels of community. Yeah. And so I would think that if your life, you might have some intimate relationships, you might interact in the masses, plug into a community group. It's some social gatherings. If you don't have those intimate relationships, it's a great place to build them. And so connect, find out, jump into a community group, say, hey, I really connect with these 4, 6, 8 people in the community group. I might have those over to my house. Yeah. So I think there's lots of ways that you can plug in here beyond just coming on a Sunday morning and enjoying Dave's messages.
Yeah, well, that's really good help. And so as you think about beginning this journey to Easter, consider making community a spiritual practice of yours. And I love your coaching, and that is just to invite someone in your home. Begin by being intentional and putting yourself out there. And then secondly, we've got community going on here. If it's hard for you to do that, then wade in the waters, and come be a part of one of the groups that might fit you. So tell us what you're learning about community and how it's been a spiritual practice in your life. We'd love to hear about that. And we'll give you some links below about all the community groups that we're putting on that you can come and join. So thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to hearing from you about how you're growing in community.